So, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below. Let me get my tea here. A rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 17th day of November, 2022. Well, I had some technical issues on the screen here. I had to restart and all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the runes though, because I've already drawn them. And then we'll just start in with laying out some cards here, but we'll talk about the runes as well. If this is your first time here, welcome. Sometimes little glitches happen and I start over. You know, it is what it is. Hopefully you don't get too far. I mean, I've gotten pretty much all the way through and the things started jumping around. It's like, oh my God. And there's no way to fix it. So I just have to start over, and that's always fun, isn't it? But anyway, I hate when there's like an air bubble and you can't get the tea out. Anyhow, welcome to everybody. And if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, I hope you'll do that and come back and join our little tarot and rune family here as we explore how tarot and runes and numerology and all of that can influence our lives, influence our decisions, influence our awareness. Let's see. Let's bring this up a little bit higher on the screen. And let's go ahead and take a look at today's daily forecast. Now that you can find over on the blog at Stepping Aside, and the web address there is imsteppingaside.com. You can also see, well, I'll get into that in a minute. I put some magical stuff at the bottom of it, so I'll talk about that after we're done there. So for today, the influences are the numerology of 8, which is 17 reduces to 8. Tiwaz, the spiritual warrior within, and Albus, wisdom and clarity. 8 is about strength, inner strength, and leadership, and material recognition and approval, and stuff like that there. So, and then also I look at the astrology for the day for Sunday, and then or not Sunday, Thursday, and then I also look at the human design chart for Thursday. I do this for every day of the week. I was doing it in a single post, but now I've just got the one for each day, which I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll go back to doing it all just in one post, but I don't know. I think sometimes it's nice just to see what it is for that day and to not have to scroll down through the blog and try to find it. I don't know what's going on with my bangs today, but whatever. Anyway, let's take a look at what it is, though. Have the inner strength to rise above a challenging situation by taking a spiritual approach to finding solutions. In the long run, others will recognize your leadership and your wisdom to sacrifice for the greater good. Relying on your intuition will help you experience a better balance with others. An expression of selflessness allows you to act without personal motive or agenda, especially if you're dealing with the bully in the room. In doing so, you should feel an increased momentum toward achieving your intended goal, while others may be caught up in their own egos. Today's magical focus includes social justice. It is, after all, Thursdays governed by Jupiter, the expansive planet of social justice, healing, abundance, income, growth, and achieving goals. Aligns very well with the numerology of 8 today, and also, well, both Tiwaz and Albus as well. Let's see, the favorability of work and magic is very good, and the lunar phase is waning, which involves magics of decrease, and also third quarter, which is actions from a place of strength with adaptability, challenging at times. But with the numerology and the runes today, I think that might help you overcome that in terms of being adaptable when times are difficult. Also, and what I started to say earlier, if you want to know a little more about the different magical correspondences for the day, you can go again over to the blog at imsteppingaside.com and look for, it would be the daily correspondences for the week of the 13th through the 19th of November, and it'll show you each day. It also shows each day's astrological chart under at the bottom of each day. You'll see that, but it has the different crystals, resins, herbs, deities, what governs it. It gives where the sun is, where the governing planet is, where Jupiter is. Jupiter is, I think, are we in Pisces yet for this one? I don't know. I've been working on next week, so I've got that in my head. But it has a lot of information if you're interested. You can take a look at that. And the astrological chart below each day is one that I've created. I use Solar Fire, and so you can create your own chart, what they look like. So it's not just the chart, it's other stuff as well. The planetary hours and the mansions and all of that are on there, and the rays, and when the next events are, the the new moon, the full moon, the eclipses, things like that. They're all there. So and just a lot of different esoteric planetary information you'll find on there, and I create that myself. So it gives that software gives you the ability to do that, which is very cool. So they're a little different maybe than what you're normally used to seeing. So if you're interested, go over there and look at that. I do that once a week, and the current week's is up. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rune for today. It's Isa, which is one of the Norn runes. We've got Hagalaz, Isa, and Nathiz. Isa is the rune of the static realm or present moment. It's alignment. It's freezing unwanted behavior. It's alignment in spirit, really. Keeping your focus right on the moment instead of on other things, the past or the future, realizing that there really is only the now, and to work with that energy instead of letting fear come in of either the past or the future, past fears, past hurts, past whatever that hold you back. Stay focused on the moment and not allow those to come in and influence. And then the Geomancy rune was Caput Draconis, which is the governed by the north node of the moon. So you're looking at the future. You're looking at on the threshold of something new beginning. It's the head of the dragon. I don't know if maybe I just said that. I know I said it in the first video I did, but that one didn't. That one just, I don't know. Nothing was. Sometimes my software just, I don't know if it's that I don't reboot my computer enough. I don't ever turn my computers off, so I just let them run. And so sometimes the memory doesn't go back, and I think it affects this software I use to do the videos. And so something about it that just sort of distresses it, and that sometimes I just have to do that. I have to go back and reboot the computer, and then it's fine. I didn't have to do that this time, which was nice, but I know that when it gets to be too bad, I have to do that. So anyway, let's take a look at what the cards are. I'm going to lay down 3 cards for those of you who've never seen this before, and then I will if I need more, I'll take them. But right now we have the 2 of Cups, the King of Wands, and we have the 5 of Wands. And so we have not really a run on wands. If there were all 3 wands, that would actually be called a run on wands. But right now we have 2, so there's a little more strength on the fire element, and so creativity and motivation and the spark of life and all of that. And then Cups is the water element, and that's our emotional presence. So we start out in balance and in healing. We see the winged sun, or not the winged sun, the winged lion up at the top. We see the caduceus below. So having the inner strength to extend yourself in healing, and it's the man who's doing it. You can see him take a step toward the woman, reaching out with his hand here. Each one holds a golden chalice in their hands, and they're both putting it out in offering. So they want to find balance. They want to find healing. They want to engage in reciprocity with one another. They whatever's been going on, maybe it's time to, in your life, perhaps there's something that needs to be healed with another person. A little more balance needs to be achieved. And very often it comes from the masculine or projective side of self, where somebody has maybe asserted themselves in a way that wasn't helpful, or tried to control a situation that caused upset or something like that. That would be an example of that. But, they're both looking at each other with, in a very with a lot of humility. They're very humble about what's going on. You see the line of demarcation here, this dual line. That's what I call that. It's always given me a feeling of this is now and that's then, or this is now and this is the future. So they can come back together in harmony and love, and maybe begin their life together, heal whatever went wrong. And again, that would be in alignment then, I guess, with Caput Draconis, wouldn't it? With being on the threshold of something new developing. And I think that that's true for this card here. So we start out with that. Now, the King of Wands, he's not going to look you in the eye. He's holding a staff with some little branches growing off of that. You see his little salamander. You see him up here with his tail in his mouth in an Ouroboros fashion. You see the lion up here. The salamander is an elemental. It's considered an elemental, like for like the sylphs are an elemental, and the undines and the gnomes. They're all these elemental energies, these elemental creatures associated with the different elements. And this particular one, of course, is for fire. So you see him down there. He's cute. But even though the King of Wands is an authority figure, he's an older man, he's knowledgeable, he's a wise counselor, he's a warrior, he's a mentor. He can also be cruel. He can be bigoted when he's ill-dignified. He's not really, but he is concerned when you see them together like that. He's looking at the couple. See, and the thing about the court is it's interactive. If you've got a bunch of court cards, they're talking to one another, or there's this general influence that's especially if it's the kings and queens of maybe mentorship or concern or trying to help advise somebody. But here he's watching. He's being watchful, isn't he? To make sure that these two come together in harmony and in love. So it seems to me that if this is happening in your life, you may have talked to somebody. Or if this needs to happen in your life, then you need to talk to somebody that's older in authority, maybe your father or your grandfather, an uncle, or just somebody you know, a friend that's older, that maybe has a little bit more life experience, that can kind of get you to think about the things that are important here. Because clearly something has happened and it's time for somebody to make the first move, and to reach out in love and harmony and reciprocity and healing with the other person. I mean, you can get all esoteric about it and say, well, this is just, the masculine and feminine side of self that needs healing. And I suppose that could be the case, but I think we'll be a little more specific and say that there's something that needs to be healed, a relationship that needs to be healed in your life. And you may need to have the guidance of somebody. It could be a therapist, for all you know. I mean, it wouldn't have to be a family member or a friend or someone you know. I mean, it could be a therapist that you need to go and see, an actual counselor of some kind. But someone whose authority that you take seriously, somebody whose advice you will take seriously. I guess maybe not so much authority. That's probably the wrong word to use. But you trust that person is going to give you some good advice about what you need to be thinking about. Because when you get into issues with another person, sometimes you just can't see the forest for the trees. You're so caught up in your own perspective that you can't see the perspective of the other person. And that's where I think the King of Wands is coming in and is getting you to look at things more creatively, maybe in a way that you just never thought of before, getting you to order things down into some kind of cohesive unit, which again might be reflective of Isa. But with Isa, you're also looking at the idea of of staying present in the moment. And if you're having a conversation where healing a relationship is the goal, then you don't want to bring up a bunch of past stuff that really isn't relevant anymore. But it sure seems relevant to you because it's, but again, you're not coming together when you do that. You're staying apart. It's no, my opinion is most important. And the other person's like, well, no, my opinion is most important. It's like, well, can we drop some of that and can we just figure out a way back to one another? And deal with things in a way that first heals, and then maybe you can look at some of the issues that took you there to begin with. And again, this could be a marriage counselor, and where both of you are there trying to sort out what's really necessary, what's really real, and if there's been some disrespect, if one partner has a tendency to talk over the other and they don't listen, or those are the kinds of structural things that can be dealt with, but at some point you have to want to be willing to do that. And it kind of seems like that's what's the decision that's been made here. 2 is also about decisions. And so there's been a decision to heal. And so dropping resistance to whatever was going on has to happen in order for that to take place. And again, it doesn't mean that the problems don't get addressed. But first you have to remember that you love one another. Right? Sometimes when you're so mad, you forget that part of it. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I love that person. This may be, again, what the issue was. So this is kind of an interesting flow here in the dynamic of the reading. With the 5 of Wands, everybody's asserting their own opinion. Everybody's asserting their own ideas. The fire element is also about the expression of ideas, but nobody's really listening to one another, are they? You could think of this in terms of creative conflict, but nobody's getting hurt. Okay, that's the one thing. I tend not to read this card as a real damaging type of a card. It would depend on what the other cards were. And I think that in this case, probably what's at the heart of this, what's prompting this, the catalyst for it, if you will, is nobody's listening to each other. And everyone's expressing their own opinions, their own ideas, and nobody's really interacting with anyone else. This guy is a real indicator of it. It's like, I'm here, these are my ideas, they're most important. You've got this one who's really pressing the point, this one who's like, yeah, but I really feel this way, and everybody's shouting and nobody's listening. Basically, to me, this is just a lot of noise here with this card. And that was the change. Maybe you with your partner, you've gotten along really well, whatever the partnership is. Generally, I interpret this as a love relationship, but it could be a partnership in a business. It could be co-workers at work where you were doing well with one another, integrating well, you were getting along, you were appreciating one another's opinions and ideas, and everyone was being heard. And then all of a sudden something changed. 5 is about change. And something changed and people just stopped listening for whatever reason. And it's asserting themselves without really hearing the other people, without paying attention to anybody else. And that's how I see this card. And it means that it's a change in something that's happened. It's not your general way of being. Something has shifted and nobody seems to want to really hear anyone else other than themselves. And that's how I see this card. And so that may be what's in fact, you could probably put it at the beginning. Maybe just reverse it all, begin with the 5 and say nobody's really listening to one another at this point. You need some counseling to get, you need a referee to try to bring things back into alignment with Isa, and then you can move on in reciprocity and healing with the other parties involved. Makes sense? That's the thing. The fun thing about tarot, the cards in their order are not carved in stone unless it seems like that's the cadence of it all and the unfolding of it all. I think that you can always move your cards around to see if especially if you've got court cards, then they might start talking to one another in a way that you didn't think about before. But I really think that, again, even if you do that, if you switch the 5 with the 2, you still have the counselor, the mentor, the referee watching what's going on here, and then being able to give his perspective to the people here that need it the most. And so that they can start coming back together in healing and in reciprocity and love and unity with one another. Because when this happens, people get off track and they don't really, it's hard to, it's not the same thing as sitting around a table discussing something, a problem or a challenge or an opportunity or what direction we want to go, and have everybody throw their ideas on the table and then don't own them anymore. Just everybody talk about them as if they're just stuff you pulled out of a hat and is not attached to any one particular person. Because we get defensive about our own ideas and the things we have to offer. And sometimes you can take 3 or 4 different things and cull them into something even better, so the voices are there, right? The participation, the offering is there, but it may not ultimately look like that, but there are components to it. And so when you hang on to your own ideas like each person wants to do here, then it becomes difficult to come together in any kind of unity. So if you want to take this out of the love realm and just say put it into a work situation, you're trying to come up with solutions, and you got 5 of them here, but nobody's trying to say, well, if we paired mine with yours, we could end up having this, or maybe we could take pieces of each one and come up with an even better solution than individually we could have, right? And at that point, then, the argument's over. And you find a way to begin again in some kind of unified presence, an alignment, if you will. And again, that would then definitely align with Isa today. And it would put you then on the threshold of something new beginning for you, which would be this part of the card here. Does that make sense? My husband's sticking his head in the door. So that I think is what this is. And let's take a look back at today's... taking a spiritual approach to finding solutions with today's esoteric influence or esoteric forecast. Being able to sacrifice for the greater good, relying on your intuition, will help you experience a better balance with others. Selflessness, acting without personal motive or agenda, especially if you're dealing with the bully in the room. Let's see. I think that so there's a little bit of an alignment there with today's daily forecast too. Being able to step outside yourself for a moment and allow the soul to observe what's going on and find a way to align together. Giving the respect to other people for their own contributions. And realizing that there needs to be a different balance in your life, one that begins in spirit, one that begins with the soul, instead of relying solely on the ego's perceptions of things. Because this, to me, is also expression of egos. It's just me, and not us. Okay, here's my idea. What do you think about that? And having a conversation about it. See, there's no real conversation here. It's just, assertion. That's all that is. And when you do that, you don't hear the other people. And it can cause problems. And you lose that alignment that you have with them. And then it's very difficult to then move forward in some kind of collaborative effort, in some kind of unity. So... apologize for the voice here today, but we have freezing fog outside. I mean, the trees look gorgeous. We have juniper. We also have other trees, but we have on the high desert, we have a lot of juniper trees that are just grow naturally here. And I have really big ones in my backyard, and along with some other stuff we've put in over the years. We've been here since '81, so we've had a long time to grow the place up the way we want it to be. And but when I have to say, when the juniper trees are we have also some pine out there. When they're flocked with the frost, it's just gorgeous. So it was lovely to wake up to that this morning, although it makes me not want to leave the house. And we have to go buy chicken food, so I don't know if we'll do that today or tomorrow, but we'll see, because it can be slick. I don't know. I'm less likely to want to go out and about when it's like that, so at my age. So anyway, well, I think that's it. Again, if you're experiencing some difficulties, it could be that nobody's listening to one another, and you need somebody that you trust to kind of give an overall perspective. That's where the King of Wands comes in. If it's a relationship, it could be a counselor, or it could be somebody that you trust and value, whose opinions you trust and value in your life, and to kind of give you a different perspective of maybe what you're missing, when you're both hanging on to your own deal, and you're not really trying to find a way forward together. But if you do all of that, then someone's going to have to take the first step, and that would be this guy here. He's stepping toward her, reaching his hand out in love and understanding and support, and asking. Maybe he's asking for forgiveness. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with forgiving, and nothing wrong with asking for forgiveness. It's like, I did that and I'm sorry. Sometimes that's just the very best thing you can do. So anyhow, at least my screen didn't jump all over the place this time. Yay. So that's it. Hang on to this till Monday. If this isn't coming up for you right now, if it doesn't seem relevant right now, it could over the next few days. And then come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and be good to yourself. Be good to one another, and blessed be.